Hello everyone, my name is Gerald. Welcome to Studio Ploy.
I'm always excited doing unit or house turnover, even if I've done it a lot of times. I always look forward to the experience, and today is a bit different from the previous ones. Hopefully everything will go smoothly. Hashtag no punch list. Unlike any of our previous projects, I had been involved with this property from when it was purchased. In fact, I was the one who suggested this specific unit since I'd been the family servicing broker from 2017. They'd been very supportive of me even when I ventured into makeover projects with Studio Ploy. With the owner's busy schedule, they would normally appoint me as their SPA or attorney in fact, hence the reason I was also the one who accepted the unit. It's a builder grade finish for this property, or here we call it standard finish, with very basic features like painted walls and ceiling and a tiny kitchen. Toilet and bath are also delivered with the same basic features, with provisions for shower heater and washer and dryer within the bathroom. The bedroom and living area both have provisions for window type ACs, and the entire unit were illuminated in basic incandescent bulbs. Unfortunately, two of the floor tiles were not properly installed with minor defects, so I requested for it to be rectified immediately, which the developer promised to fix as soon as possible. Para doon sa mga bumili or nakabili ng property with Ayala, they would normally provide 1-year workmanship warranty. Mag-start po ito on the day you accepted the unit, but I would suggest na gumawa ng checklist prior to the turnover para mas ma-check ng maayos bago po natin accept ang unit. Months have passed, we've been busy working on a couple of projects, and also we've been featured on Adventure Tastes and Moments online for our Modern Japandi project in Pasig and a workshop invite from Powerhouse Tools. I also got an SMS around this time from the owner asking me to drop a proposal for the unit inclusive of some basic appliances, which got approved instantly on first draft. Right after the holidays, we immediately went back to work and started working on this 37 square meter unit situated in one of the emerging business district in Metro Manila. It's a 1-bedroom unit in standard finish, and we are requested to keep the existing layout, focusing more on cosmetic upgrade without compromising on both aesthetic and functionality, with a specific ceiling for the budget. Funny though, I've known the owner for quite some time but zero clue on his design preferences. But because I wanted this project to reflect the owner's lifestyle and personality, I shoot him a message asking whether he prefers the mountains or beaches, which he responded instantly, and for sure you guys already know the answer based on our thumbnail. The overall design style perfectly blends the minimalism of Scandinavian style and the relaxing warm beach vibe of coastal design executed the Studio Ploy way. We are starting off this makeover right into the heart of this unit, the kitchen. I am anticipating the kitchen would be a little messy with its unusual black backsplash, so it was the first work item that we focused on accomplishing. With normally very limited stocks, we went straight to Home Depot to purchase the tiles and some painting essentials for the first phase of the makeover.
I was thinking, ikaganito siya. Sa tingin ko mas maganda. Tingnan natin na.
I went for the brickwork square pattern instead of the default grid pattern of the Mosaic tiles because of the simple reason that we are not going to be extending the existing kitchen and I wanted for it to look wider. A grid pattern will generally look wider than a brickwork pattern as it utilizes squares or rectangles laid side by side without any offset. But on this specific kitchen and its scale, I would need the brickwork pattern staggered or offset pattern for it to appear wider, hence my decision to ultimately go for the brickwork. I started preparing the surface by creating punctures to the prefab wall for that added adhesive strength. I would then cover it with mesh tape before applying a layer of the adhesive. For our backsplash to look really polished, I would always install tile trim to protect the tile edges from damages and for it to terminate with our painted wall neatly. I prefer using this 2-in-1 tile grout and adhesive for its practicality, and also I am very satisfied with its durability and antibacterial properties. I would initially cover the wall with a thin coat of about 1 millimeter or 2 of the adhesive before installing the tiles. I believe it's my 6th time to install a tile backsplash, and I was quite confident I'm gonna do well, but this black one is different. Because I am using black adhesive, it makes for a more complicated install aside from reconfiguring the pattern. Making it perfectly level was a challenge, so I have to slowly install and tediously placing tile spacer between each tile to make sure everything is perfectly aligned. Since it's in a brick pattern, I also have to cut an arm to the cross spacer, creating a letter T, and added work to an already complicated install. The next day, I brought in the lacking tile trim and started installing it on this side where the oven will be placed. But sadly, because I was not able to install all the bottom portions of the backsplash in one go, it had an effect to the install that I started noticing something is a bit off, but I continued with the installation anyway. It became more noticeable that with my discontent, I started removing the tile on this part of the backsplash. We're taking a few minute break from our backsplash install as Acibar arrived to install the shower enclosure. I've also asked them to take the measurements of a huge column on the living area that takes up over a square meter of living area space. I wanted the column part facing the kitchen fully covered with mirror to camouflage it, and partially on the side facing the bedroom. My idea is to somehow create illusion of space instead of the very intrusive unsightly column. Going back, I meticulously reinstalled that uneven portion and also those complicated trims until I was able to get that professionally done install. With the same tile grout and adhesive, we applied a decent amount of it to the grout joints, then waited for around 30 minutes to an hour before removing the excess grout with sponge. We had to use our phone flashlight to check if the joints were properly filled or if there is still some excess. Then we let the grout dry for 48 hours before applying the sealer to protect tiles from damage and staining. It will also create a water-resistant layer, preventing dirt and liquids from penetrating the porous material. Moving to the bedroom headboard wall, I thought of incorporating a full floor-to-ceiling fluted paneling, primarily to provide texture and visual interest to the room. Coastal styles often favor textures and materials that evoke the beach, like wood shiplap, but instead I thought of going for something more modern, but still evokes that warm beach vibe. It's actually inspired by this bamboo fence I normally see in most of our provincial beaches, and went for this light ash wood finish in half round paneling to cover this wall. I had this pre-cut to a certain length with a little excess for adjustment and for it to also fit with the elevator. Almost all of the bedroom walls were already repainted, excluding the part where we are covering with panelings. This is going to be an easy install, and we are going to be using construction grade adhesive to attach the fluted panels to the wall. Normally, if the wall is too high, it is recommended to also install a mounting clip to each panel, or alternately, but for this one, adhesive would be strong enough to hold the panelings. We started from the leftmost part of the wall after the column, and I had to do some adjusting to the first panel so it would have a more precise clearance with the column, since the column plastering is not perfectly leveled, and also this is important to be vertically aligned as it would set the entire install. And since we're not going to be using clippings, a good amount of adhesive is needed to perfectly secure its adhesion, then carefully pressing it with the rubber mallet to evenly distribute it for a more stronger bond. If you notice here, I have to be very careful in cutting off the excess. Over cutting it would make it shorter and would create clearance, that means additional panels. I would remove a small portion of about a millimeter, then actually fit it before doing another adjust, so it would fit perfectly flush to the wall and almost negligible clearance on both the floor and the beam. Before applying the adhesive to attach it, and always double checking every panel to install, as the floor to beam height have varying heights. After getting the hang of it, we were able to install much faster while carefully checking its vertical alignment every 2 panels installed. This is the only thing that makes this install a bit complicated, because we have to carefully cut it in the right place, as we always aim for that professional finish, and again, making the hole slightly off would waste another panel. After this, we were able to install the rest of the panelings just in time before the allotted time to do noisy works. We actually managed to finish this in one day. It was, I believe, few days after that Elsa was able to seal very minor gaps on both the top and the bottom portions of the panelings for that finishing touch-up. It wouldn't be a Studio Ploy project if we're not incorporating unplanned elements that would elevate the space, or sometime would take the tone and make the space look more interesting. The initial plan for this adjacent walls was to create a combination of board and batten and fluted elements to the lower 1/3 of the wall, similar to what we did in our modern organic project. But the inside part will be covered by the same material we used for the bedroom wall. Though there is continuity when it comes to the material, it rendered a not so pleasing result when we did the first mock-up. I find it a little distracting, and I don't think it fits the owner's personality. I came up with a decision to instead do a board and batten from floor to ceiling for a more traditional look, and would make the wall interesting without clashing with the other elements. The wall should be the perfect backdrop for the kitchen and dining and living area, since we have an open layout. I also took into consideration the shape of the space. I wanted to add more height, hence the full floor to ceiling height. I wanted a custom board and batten pattern for the space, so instead of the usual equally spaced one, I thought of doing something that would also reflect the owner's lifestyle. Then I decided on applying the design first to this narrow portion of the bedroom wall to assess and adjust before doing it to the whole of the adjacent wall. The inspiration for the pattern is from a sports brand stripes in relation to the owners being an athlete. It would be a no-nail install and would only use construction grade adhesive to attach it to the wall. Our battens will be placed in a 1-2-1 configuration. The middle part will have a gap of 2 centimeters. except for this corner portion where we cover it with batten side by side. We were in the middle of our install when Acibar arrived for the additional item I requested, which is to cover this humongous column on the living area with a floor-to-ceiling height mirror. This was an additional element without any additional cost to the owner. Back to our board and batten wall, we continued with our mock-up. Around this time, we were already installing the middle part of the pattern. It should be equally spaced from both ends and the gap should fall right at the middle of the two battens. We needed our line level laser for that vertically aligned install. Our initial pattern looked really good and fits the space, so I decided to apply it to the rest of the wall. It has this familiar but somehow different vibe to it. It's sort of a younger version of a classic piece but still retains its traditional charm, if you know what I mean. I was so excited that I was just supposed to finish the mock-up and do the rest of the wall the next day that I went on installing almost a third of the adjacent wall. The following day, I proceeded installing and finishing the rest of our main focal wall. On this side, since it'll be a combination of 4 sets of 1-to-1 configuration, it will appear to have 2 stripes together on every 50 centimeters average interval. We needed for the adhesive to completely dry, then few days after, the next step was supposedly be just plain caulking of some gaps, but we needed to do more because of the material that we used for the battens. Plain 1x2 plank was supposed to be my choice of material, but unfortunately it wasn't available back then. What we got is a colonial baseboard. We installed it on reverse to hide one side with a cap and apply putty as you actually see me doing to cover the side pattern or cap and make it on a 90-degree angle. Doing this actually serves two purposes: cover the cap and add more durability to our board and batten wall. We are already halfway on our timeline and some of the furniture and light fixtures that we ordered are already starting to arrive. Two days after, we proceeded sanding our board and batten wall to prepare it for painting. We now need to move faster with the first phase before everything else gets delivered and it would be hard for us to move around. Last work item for the first phase is to finally paint the main wall the same color we painted early on with the rest of the walls and ceiling. I had two initial choices for the paint, one with a much cooler tone with Sweet Thing and a bit warmer option with Mystique. I decided to go for a much cooler tone this time as I'll be adding a lot of warm elements to have a bit of contrast. Moving to the installation phase, we were looking at installing the bed frame first, but since this pendant light falls directly to the center of the bed, I have to install this first so it would be easier for us and we won't be damaging the frame. I wanted to have a more diffused, soft lighting to the bedroom, hence the decision to go for this type of lighting. Noticing the frame would instantly take 40% of the bedroom space, I decided to install the wardrobe first since this would be flush to the wall anyway. I went for this Oxberg's Bow 2-door wardrobe in white, so it would perfectly blend with our white walls. This would also complement with the rest of the furniture in the bedroom. If you guys are following me on IG, I scored these marble knobs from H&M Home when they were on sale. Things are getting more exciting. Aside from we're getting closer to finishing this, we are going to start with 2 new projects, a studio in Mandaluyong and a 2-bedroom in Pasig City. Unfortunately, when I got home that night, I felt really weak and feverish that my temperature shot up to 39.5 degrees around midnight, and we were not able to go back to work in the next 8 days when we're supposed to finish this project in 2 weeks' time. On the 9th day and still recovering, I decided that we resume working on the unit to finish the remaining work. With only 3 days remaining before the original turnover date, I don't think we would be able to deliver, so I asked for a 2-week extension. We started assembling the bed frame right away, though slowly as I don't want to overwork myself. I saw this bed frame when I was checking on the dining chairs that I saw online and visited their physical store in Alabang. What caught my attention right away is the headboard with a shelf design, which is the same tone as our fluted paneling. And what made me decide for this is its price that is just right within the budget ceiling. For our bed frame, the owner's only requirement is to have it in queen. Next furniture that we assemble is this Billy Oxberg with glass doors from Ikea. I went for the black oak option to complement with our kitchen's black backsplash. The idea is to have a versatile shelving space. The upper portion lets you display some collectible items, and the bottom half lets you hide unsightly stuffs. Its shallow design makes it a perfect choice, enough to fill in that empty but narrow space without eating too much of the kitchen and dining area. Hashtag the struggle is real for our light fixtures, and it would stand as a separate content if I was able to document everything. Lighting is very important when it comes to the overall design. A change of a very important fixtures, in this case, the drop lightings for the dining, would have a domino effect to the overall look that I envisioned for this space. My initial proposed lighting is this pendant light, but unfortunately when the proposal was approved, it was already sold out. It took me weeks before I finally found a replacement. Found this really nice pendant, and with its size, I only need 2. I went to the store right away and purchased it, and lucky enough they still have 1 in stock and 1 on display, which is perfect as we need 2. I paid for it together with the other fixture and was advised that it will be available for pickup the following day, but I decided to pick it up on a Monday, which is 3 days after. Come Monday, I was already on my way to pick up the fixtures. I received an SMS that one of the pendant that I already paid with receipt was already sold to a different client and was offered to wait for the replenishment, which will be available in the next 6 months, which I instantly declined. No way can we wait for that long because we are less than 2 weeks away from the reveal. I was so frustrated, I actually don't know what to replace it with because of 2 concerns: style and budget. While I was reviewing the mood board for the project, I saw this linear pendant and thought of going something the same. Fortunately, there is an available 85cm black arriving in the next 2 days in one of the home furnishing store. It was a blessing because it's the same supplier with my flush mount and they offer free install, which I could not do at the moment as I am still recovering. Down to our last furniture installation is this floating vanity. This will also serve as a nightstand since we don't have enough space for a different set of nightstand. We are adding in a round mirror in wooden finish to complement with our panelings. With only less than a week to reveal, we have to purchase all of the remaining stuffs for styling and our window treatments. I got a little help from our little apprentice this time na sobrang daldal. She was also saying she prefers white for our curtains. We are doing sheer for the living while a combination with sheer and semi-black art for the bedroom.
Opo, magsinga muna ng Mr. Jinggoy.
May flowers, tsaka may line.
Okay.
Tapos, ang hold ko, basket.
What
Lagyan
else?
ng flowers. Yung walang lines. Yung wala.
The next day, while I was checking on the clips, I noticed that the bathroom is so plain that I decided to create some sort of focal wall for the bathroom and went on formulating cement finish with cement and excess white paint that we use for the walls. It was harder to mix than Davies Industria and dries faster. It came out silvery gray in color and lighter and perfectly matches our overall design. What's more surprising is accidentally I splashed water to it and turns out it's water resistant, which means we don't need to apply additional top coat. We let it completely dry for 48 hours before we install back our shelving unit and mirror. We are almost all set for styling, but a studio Ploy makeover would not be complete without our DIYs and artworks. I got this vase from a local supplier and it's painted in white. I thought of making it dark and rustic using acrylic paint. It took me 5 coats more or less before I was able to achieve that vintage looking vase. For our living room painting, I initially thought of doing a modern abstract painting of a school of fish, but upon finishing it, I don't like how it looked. I wasn't able to achieve what I wanted as the end result, so I immediately covered it and instead replayed it with the same colors we used and created this random color of wave pattern, which I totally love. She was suggesting to name it Bluey, then I add wave, so we call it Blue Wave. And it's our little secret. So don't tell anybody. This maroon painting with gold is an homage to the owner's alma mater, and I thought of hanging this to the bedroom wall opposite to the paneled wall. Again, when everything seems to go as planned, new challenges arises. Because this time, a lot of graduations are happening. The alteration shops are all fully booked, and the shortest time for them to alter our curtains is 2 weeks, which is beyond our schedule. I remember I bought a portable sewing machine way back online, and I thought, why not doing it myself? It's going to be my first time, but I grew up with my Nana Christine, my grandmother, who is really a good seamstress, so I'm confident I'll be able to do it with flying colors. I miss you, Nanay. This is for you. First try was a success and was able to complete the sheer for the living. Because it was already late, I decided to install the curtains for the bedroom the next day, 2 days before the reveal. This was also the time we started unboxing all the appliances. And still, my favorite part of doing makeover is the styling. This is when you bring in together all those elements to create the desired look. It looks easy, but it's one of the most complicated and tricky part. And when executed perfectly, it creates magic. The choice between mountains or beaches had been our point of reference in creating this new space. I hope you guys enjoy this humble coastal scape. It's a bit of a hurdle when you have been given the fullest trust and creative freedom to work on a project without a particular design direction in mind. And the only request was to provide the basic furniture and appliances with certain budget. While this is our second project from the same client, the goal of delivering a better output is our top priority, as expectations were already set after the first project we did. Nonetheless, this one appeared to be easy as I got to play on the overall design direction for the project, not to mention the inclusion of the ceiling for the overall cost. These factors, together with the other matters we encountered, resulted to this modern coastal scape, which our client happily accepted with a seal of approval. It's always fun to work with angel clients, a rare opportunity these days. From being their real estate broker to designing this space, the trust and confidence reposed upon me is something we deeply cherish. And to our valued and kind subscribers, I hope you guys appreciate our first content for 2025, our summer special, which we humbly pray to hit the 100K milestone. Know that we are forever grateful for your support and for staying with us until this time.
Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.